Hey everyone, so I watched Holm versus Cris Cyborg, and I saw within Cris Cyborg there's a lot of the same psychological phenomena that Ronda Rousey used to help intimidate her opponents and win fights, despite the fact that there's a completely different set of personality traits that are being used to execute this same type of psychological manipulation. I think a lot of fighters are afraid of Cyborg because she comes across as being so much more aggressive and so much more ruthless than many of the female fighters, and that's why so many people are supposedly, and I think honestly, afraid to get into the ring with her. Now, I didn't really think that that would work on Holm, and I talked to my boxing instructor about it before the fight happened, and he kind of had the same impression, that Holly's a tough girl and she's faced plenty of fearsome opponents before. But Holly herself does admit that she gets nervous before a fight, and her nerves were really showing through this time. Sometimes we just psych ourselves out with our own thoughts and things along those lines, and I do think that that's kind of what Holly did. I think Holly, within her own mind, as much as she wanted to win, I think she ended up being overly cautious, and the fact that she was overly cautious is why she lost. I really believe that she could have won if she would have just thrown more of her usual side kicks and her front kicks, because she was being way too predictable, sticking to the same stuff, and basically playing it very safe all throughout the fight. Now, Cris Cyborg was playing it pretty safe too, and that's probably because she recognizes that Holm is a very worthy opponent. And honestly, I don't think that Cris Cyborg could have kept up with Holly's speed. I think Holly definitely had a speed advantage, even though Cris Cyborg had a strength advantage and hits a lot harder than Holly does. Now, neither one of them really went all out, and I don't think that's just 100% because they're terrified of each other. And no, I don't think they're so terrified of each other that they didn't even want to put their whole hearts into it. I don't think that's the case, because they still did work even though they were cautious. I think that the fighters, kind of like the fans, the fighters and the fans both have this sort of issue where we're a little bit wrapped up in the past, and we're being nostalgic about previous fighters, previous champions, previous fights we've watched. We've got our heads in the past. And I think a lot of Ronda Rousey fans are still sad that Holm is the person who initially beat Ronda Rousey. And I think because of that, a lot of the Ronda Rousey fans are more so cheering on Cris Cyborg now and not as interested in Holm. Like, they feel kind of, hurt by the fact that Holm defeated their hero. And, I think there's so many people out there who just want to see the next Ronda Rousey, and they want to be able to love a fighter the way that they loved Ronda Rousey, and that's what they're looking for. That's what they're seeking out. So the fans are still thinking about Ronda Rousey. The fans are still more likely to click something, more likely to look at something if it reminds them of Ronda Rousey's existence, if it has something to do with Ronda Rousey, even though Ronda Rousey is not actually fighting. The idolization of her is still kind of lingering in the air. So that's what everyone's looking for right now. They're still looking for Ronda Rousey, like they've been abandoned by their idol or something tragic like that. But she is the one who got so many people interested in the female fighters in UFC. And I feel like that is why this was able to be a main event last night. That is why this happened and why it was such a big deal. But even the fighters, the new female UFC champions, I think they still have Ronda lingering in their thoughts, just like the fans do. And I think they were remembering how much attention she got, and not just how much attention and praise she got, even though that is a big deal. But I think they're also thinking about the fact that she would get paid $3 million for a single fight. And that is a lot of money. Now, Cris Cyborg, I believe, made $500,000 last night. And if I'm not mistaken, Holm made $300,000 last night. And that's a good chunk of money. To you and me, and to everyone watching this here on YouTube, that's probably a lot of money. That would be a big deal to us. And, I'm sure for people who have worked so hard, and sometimes, fighting isn't always a profitable career path, it's a lot of money to them too. But here's the thing. When you know that someone else who did the same thing that you're doing right now made $3 million, you know that 500,000 is only a small fraction of that. So, fighters, just like everyone else, get discouraged by their own thoughts. And that's one thing that we have to fight, is our own thoughts, our own limitations. And I feel like that's part of what held them back. That's part of what prevented them from going all out. These women felt like they weren't being paid enough. They weren't being paid enough to beat up on each other and to risk injury. Yeah, it was enough that they still actually did it, but I think they want to be paid more. And I think that's what they want to see in order to really go all out and put on the same type of show that Ronda Rousey has, and the same type of shows that Mike Tyson did back in the day. And, the same type of shows you still see between fighters like Canelo Alvarez and Triple G in boxing. Women want to be paid these large chunks of money just like anyone else does, for a job that's so risky where they put their life on the line. But anyway, I just wanted to share my perspective on that. And I am an astrologer and a tarot reader on top of being a martial artist. So I used my insight on astrology and tarot. I used these tools to help me come up with this explanation. So let me know your feedback in the comments below. And if you agree that these female fighters should be paid more, and also that they should be able to overcome their own limitations and disappointment based on, what they want to get and comparing themselves to others, because I know that's something that we all struggle with. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.